All right, it's Friday, 11 Central. I'm just going to make sure everything's working right here before I head on. Do you see it, Ramel? I'm not seeing it yet.
I can see you.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll check Facebook.
All right. Okay, I'm just going to get into this. Hi, I'm Natalie of SoHungryHippie.com. And I'm here today to give a little demonstration on this Friday morning. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in if you like. Maybe set up your machine and sew along with me if you want. Now I see people popping in. Hi there. Hi, Mary. Hi, Bethany, Kim, Kat, Freddie. Hi. All right. So, before we begin, I do have some new things to show you at the end of this. We have some giveaways and what else was I going to say? I'll take questions and I'll answer as best I can. But before I start sewing, I wanted to show you my Trillium dress. This is one of the patterns that's in my shop. Amy and I talked about this on the podcast this week. The podcast Seems Funny podcast. And this is it. I made this one a few years ago. It has pockets. And this is quilting cotton. I'm going to get up closer. You can see the back. It's got this elastic thread in your bobbin, so the back is extremely comfortable. Even though it's quite fitted through the bodice, it's very, very comfortable. There's nothing constricting your body. It's just very easy to wear. And this one I have the cap sleeves on. And I'm going to wear my sweater because it's still just a little bit chilly here in Wisconsin. Oh, great. Hi, great to see everybody. I know I'll get some questions later. Yes, I have my wig on today. I love a wig. It's so fun because I looked a hot mess with my hair today and I don't want to see that on YouTube. So I've got my wig on. Okay, so there's that. Let's get into this. I'm going to be switching camera angles so you can really see what I'm doing. Today I'm going to show you how I do these little cute scrap busting hot pads. If you're in my So Hungry Hippie Makers group on Facebook, you have the template in there. I did squoval, sort of ovalish circle, and I also added a square shape this morning. I've made both. I don't know what I did with my square one. I've made both. I tend to like the circular ones better because they move with my hand better. It does have this little pocket. And you can bind it for more practice with binding, or you can sew it right sides together with an opening, flip it out, and not do binding at all. Just close your opening. I've done all kinds of ways. This is one of my favorite ways to scrap bust because I'm going to use this for sure. I use hot pads all the time, especially when I take a pan out of the oven and I have to set it on the counter. I like to have those hot pads underneath. So here's one that's in the works. Here's the pocket part, and here's the main body part, and then we sew it together. But I'm going to take you through all this. So even though you probably can figure this out or know how, sometimes I think it's fun just to watch a demonstration or a quick little video and get your creative juices flowing. You know what I mean? That sounds gross, but you know what I mean. Okay. So, Dana's asking what's the name of the dress pattern. It's Trillium. It used to be called washi, and that's what I'm wearing. This is in my shop. And so are her other patterns, but I'll show you some new ones that I just got in yesterday after the demo. All right, I'm going to switch to an overhead camera here. Ramel is in the house. He'll help me work the cameras. Right now, I'm going to transition to overhead. It's fine right now. We don't have to move it yet.
Okay, I was ready to do.
Thank you for being on standby. Here is the template. So this is just a free little PDF. It's very minimal because I didn't want you to spend money on printing these out. Go ahead and print out 2 of these. And then what I like to do is just kind of cut it out. And this is what I'm going to show you. This is why I want 2. I want a full one, and I want one where I can cut out the pocket. You see how this is this was a full one. And then I cut it in two along that line for the pocket piece. So that's why that looks that way. And then I just get out my scrap bin and I press all my scraps so they're nice and flat. If you want to use your starch or your flatter or your best press, go ahead and do it. Now to be ultra easy, I do like to use fusible. What's wrong? Is it not showing?
Yeah, I just need to. Can I borrow that mouse real quick?
So it's been showing me this whole time?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Here, well, it'll be a quick change up here.
This keeps happening.
There you go.
Okay.
Now we're back in business.
So now we're going to be at the overhead camera and I'm going to go through that again. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the PDF. I just cut it out. Sorry, that wasn't on the camera. This is what I cut it out. It'll print out on your computer like this. And then the reason I say cut two is because I like to cut away the top, and this is my pocket piece. Okay. So now back to where it was. You can use batting for this, but what I like to use is fusible fleece. Now, I will say this. If you're going to put this hot pad in a microwave, you want to use 100% cotton batting, which is also known as Wrap Zap, and I will have that listed in the shop for you. But most of these hot pads are not going in the microwave for me, so I just use fusible fleece. It's got a fused side, and then this side is just soft like batting. Just makes it really, really easy. Okay. So here are my scraps. I've kind of just pulled some out of my scrap bucket. And I'm just going to start sewing these together. So, Ramel, can you come over and swing the camera over?
Of course.
So that they can see me sewing this.
So
it's
you
going to go
switch it up. Okay.
to that
The
side.
one I do is
I'm using poly Gutermann thread like I always do, just an all-purpose thread. I use a 2.5 stitch length, my normal sewing foot, and it doesn't matter with as far as the size of your scraps. Anything goes because you're just going to keep building and building and building. So once we get this set up for you, I will show you what I'm doing. In the meantime, the width doesn't really matter at this point because we're just starting to build. Once we get a big enough piece, we treat it as if it's one fabric. So I just put two colors that I like that are cute together next to each other and put them right sides together. Now I'm using solids, but you can use scraps. You can use anything, whatever you want.
Is that good?
Can you make it a little bit further out?
Yes.
Yeah, we just want to be really clear. Okay, and then up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to switch you over, and here we go. All right, so I've got my fabric here. I got to take off my shoes. Can you maybe make it so that's not in the view?
Oh, I can. Just move it slowly right there.
Okay, so I've got that there, and I'm just going to trim this off so it's easier to work with. See, just like that. And now I'm going to build the next piece again. I'm just going to grab whatever here. Hey, Ramel, this is it's a little bit too dark. It needs to be a little bit better view. Can you fix it? Okay, so I'm laying my next piece and I'm going to sew the next piece here. It doesn't matter how perfect this is. Okay, so as you can see, it's building. This is kind of a big chunky piece, so I'm going to cut it down just a little bit to have some better color. So I cut it like this. I'm going to lay this piece with it. If you want more instruction on building these improv improv pieces, I have a improv pillow project on my YouTube channel. And I show you kind of in fast forward speed how to build these pieces. Okay, now I'm going to take this one, and I think I will maybe sew it across this way. I don't worry about pressing yet. We'll take care of all of this later. I am going to trim down that seam. That's quite large. So let me trim it down. I didn't use a ruler. I just trimmed it down. So now we're like this. Let's see where we're at as far as this pocket. Oh, that is big enough, I think.
By the way, the video looks good.
Okay, let's switch it back to the over table view. Because I'm going to cut this out now. Hold on.
Yeah, the one in
We don't want to do a roller coaster. So I'm just going to press this so the seams are nice and flat. As a general rule, I press the seams towards the darker color. Although with a hot pad, don't get too technical or worried about it. If this is like a way for you to de-stress, just sew, just press. It doesn't really, you don't have to worry too much. Okay, where are my scissors at? So I'm just going to press this one seam open a bit. Sometimes I'll come in here if I don't like the way a seam is pressing, and I'll just release it and press it again. I don't know, it's just probably a pet peeve now that I've been sewing longer, but I don't like the seam allowances to be fighting each other. Okay, so this is nice and flat. I'm going to switch you to my table view.
Does that look good?
No, it needs to be straightened up. Okay, that's better. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got this piece here. You will do this for both the body piece and the pocket piece. And you can turn it however you want. Just make sure that there's enough fabric to go all the way around. And what I like to do is just go ahead and fuse this, and then I'll cut it all out at once. So what I mean by that is, or if you have batting, you can just go ahead and press it now because it will stick to the fabric a little bit easier. And it just, one cut is, I guess, better than two. I really love fusible fleece because it's so easy to work with. I'm a fan of the foam interfacing for bags for the most part, but I have used fusible fleece in my bags also. Okay, now we will switch back. And I'm just going to cut this out. Let me move this a little bit. You can pin it and use scissors if you like, whatever you're comfortable with. I do like to turn things as I'm cutting so that I'm being really safe. There's that. And then this top edge here, this curved edge, we're going to bind that right now. See how cool that's looking already?
That looks cool.
So with binding, I want to share a trick with you. Because this is a curved edge, you want to make sure that you're cutting your binding on the bias. Now you can use prepackaged. I use that a lot. But if you're going to make your own, what I mean is you won't cut it across the grain. You'll cut it diagonally like this. And that will ensure that your fabric strip can stretch a little with the curve. And that will give you a really flat binding. So this is exactly how I cut this. And then I sewed two pieces together. And when you sew it together, you want to make sure that the strips are sewn together like this, so that when you fold it right sides facing, it's all the same direction. Does that make sense? Now, I don't need that long of a strip for this project, but I thought that's worth reviewing because when I was a beginner, I did not realize that. And that just ensures this can stretch. Okay. Now, another option is you can just make your pocket straight across if you want to. It doesn't have to have that curve at all. Whatever you want to do, you're right. So I'm just going to fold my binding in half. I love a pop of black and white stripe. It's just my favorite. And I can use a much smaller piece. This will be easier to work with. So I've just folded it in half. And now I'm going to fold these edges in so that it's double fold binding. I can tell you have a question.
Yes, there's quite a few questions from the back. I don't know when you will be ready to answer them. Maybe.
Sure, go ahead, fire away.
Oh, okay. I had a question from the YouTube viewers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to it.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll wait a minute because I'm ready to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've just folded the long edges in to meet the center, and now I'm going to fold again. And this way, on this section of the pot holder, we can do kind of a cheater method for the binding, much different than the binding around the edge at the very end. That one, you definitely want to sew one side at a time, flip it around, and then top stitch the last remaining side. But this one, we can kind of cheat it on. So I'm going to switch the view. What I mean by that is you clearly see this fold in the center. So what I do is I put the binding in to touch the fold, and I press it over like this. Now I need clips. I'm going to grab those really quick. And I just do that. And then I'll check both sides to make sure that indeed it is going to be sewn onto both sides correctly with one go. And I'll make sure that it's even and looking good. See how it just will curve right with the shape of this pocket? That's because it was cut on the bias. So right away, I'm just going to trim that so it's easier for me to work with on the machine. Now, if I didn't use clips, if I used pins, I would even just press it really quick. That's nice to do too. Okay, so we are going to switch to the sewing machine view. Ramel, if you can move the camera, please.
Yes, I can.
I'll get this sort of set up and ready to go.
I did have the question. You ready for it?
Sure.
Is the pattern available to non-Facebook viewers?
Yes, my website is always open. So hungryhippie.com. You don't have to be on Facebook. Oh, you mean for the pot holder? It will be in the email this weekend. If you're not on Facebook, it'll be linked this Sunday in my weekly email. We're just getting situated here. For the back part or the main body of the hot pad, which is this full piece, I'm just going to use this. You can see that this side, I put two pieces of scraps together, and this side is just one fabric. So you definitely don't have to make this scrappy if you don't want to. You can just use one fabric. They make nice, quick little gifts, like perfect for a housewarming or if somebody moved, whatever. Also, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now it's good. So I'm going to show you how I'm sewing on this binding really quick. Okay. So I'm not pulling too much. I just let the feed dogs take it through. I'm trying out this new Deco Bob thread in my bobbin. I bought some pre-wound bobbins, so I'm hoping that it's going to work great for today's demo.
It's looking really good.
It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah. It's amazing how it takes shape.
All right, so I am going to, I just trim it on the edge there, and that takes care of your thread trails as well. Oh, you know what I forgot to do?
What?
I can't believe I did this. Of course I did this on a live. I forgot to put the fabric on the other side.
Oh my God.
Wow, Natalie. Wow. That's okay. Easy fix. You know what? We'll go with this project because I'm not going to undo. Well, I guess I could. It wouldn't be hard. You know what? Let's do it. What I like to do are these little scalpel seam rippers. I can't believe I did that.
I think we did plan to do this, so you can demo how to undo something.
Good idea, Ramel. Let's switch it back to the overhead because I'll show you how I quickly unpick when I do stuff like this. I swear this whole week I've been in a brain fog. It's been very strange. Yep. Just go to number 1. Yep. And it's really fast with this scalpel tool, how to unpick. So you just got to curve that almost. Another hit. There you, almost straight. There. Perfect. Here we go. All right. So when I need to unpick, I take my little scalpel. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay. And then I just kind of pull on this a bit and I come in here like this and see how quickly it's taking care of it. It's not cutting the fabric. It's just carefully undoing those threads. So see, you guys, I've been sewing a long time and I make mistakes all the time.
Well, that was a quick recovery.
Yeah, that's all right. So now I will grab a fabric for the back. How about we use this pretty purple pink color? So I'm just going to lay it down on there. I'll quickly cut it out. I should be using a smaller rotary cutter. This is a big one, a 60. I should be using a 45 on smaller curves like this, but my 45s are downstairs. So here we are.
Well, this proves that you can make it work with
anything. You can make it work. That's right. That's the name of the game. So I'm going to press this onto the back. If you want to, at this point, you can quilt this. You don't have to, but sometimes that's a super fun look, especially if you use a different color thread, like not a blendy thread. I would say like a green or a turquoise for this. I think that'd look really cool. I am going to do a few little lines of quilting. Do you want to, I'm sorry to make you work so hard today.
No, I think it's okay.
So I'll go around the edge and quilt a few lines. I won't do the whole thing because that will take a long time, but we're almost there. If you don't want the quilted look, just baste around the outer edges to hold your layers together, and then we'll put on the binding. Oops.
Just trying to get it right.
Yeah, down a little bit. There you go. Okay, good. Okay. Here we go. So everything is flat. I don't need to use basting spray or worry about the fabrics. This is such a small area. They will stay together just fine. If you want to, you can increase your stitch. That looks kind of cool. I find that these kind of projects are fun if you want to practice your hand quilting. It's not a big ginormous quilt, so it's much easier to just do something small and quick. Yeah, what's up, Ramel?
Wow, I wasn't even looking at you. How do you know how to question?
Because I heard you take a breath.
Okay. Let me put this question up there. Do you ever use Insul Bright in paint?
Yes, I have used Insul Bright. That works well. Is also. It tends to sound a little more crinkly than the Wrap and Zap. That's why I've transitioned to Wrap and Zap, because that has no sound. There's no crinkle to it. But yeah, Insul Bright works just great as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do.
I have another question.
What?
I think it was the seam ripper.
Oh, this is the scalpel seam ripper tool. They're pretty cheap. You can find them a lot of places, your local sewing shop or online. I use these all the time, and you can change out the blades. The screw comes loose and you can just buy new blades. They're really handy, especially when you have tight seams to unpick. I find that a traditional seam ripper doesn't do that job as well. Sometimes when I get going on quilting, I just want to keep going. I mean, it's looking so cool. The texture, I don't know, it adds a lot. It's a cool touch. But anyways, I'll just go around this outer edge. I'll turn it up to a base stitch and go around the outer edge so we can get going with this. Don't worry if you have some small puckers. Doesn't matter. It's going to be in the seam allowance. Now, if it's hard for you to work with the trails, trim those away.
All right. For the ones that are asking what the tool is, was it Tula Pink? There's a Tula Pink. It looks just like it.
Yes, that one is a Tula Pink, but you don't have to have a Tula Pink seam ripper. Okay. I inherited a bunch. I have all the different brands. It's all the same. It's just a tool. So buy whatever's easy to get. I have a couple scalpels from the OR. Isn't that crazy? I used to be an OR nurse.
I also love it for my tools too. They're like a...
You use it on your man stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wires, my cables.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to sew this pocket now to the body. Oops, no, I'm not. You guys, I'm telling you, I need an assistant today.
Yes.
So now we're going to do our binding. Whew. Let me transition here. This is going to go on the edge. Hopefully I'll get it right because I already trimmed it. I have often used Wright's packaged binding for these kind of projects because it's very quick and I don't have to make any binding. But making it isn't hard. You just eat up some yardage because you have to cut it on that diagonal. Now, if you're doing the square one and there's no curves, you can just make your binding straight across the grain, just right with the fabric, That's what I do for a lot of my quilts because they're squares, so it doesn't need to bend. And I do it also for some of my bunting projects, you know, the triangle flags. Okay, so we've almost got this on again. There we are. I'm going to give it a quick press. So that's cool looking. Now I would normally quilt the rest of it, but I'm going to keep going. So we take our body fabric, which can be a ton of different scraps, or it can just be one fabric, whatever you want. And then I'm going to place this pocket matching those outer edges and clip it together. What's up?
No, I'm just looking at the questions.
If I need to answer something, let me know, because I can hopefully do it.
Remember the binding. Gotta remember the binding.
And you know what's funny is probably if I forgot that and like got the whole thing done, I wouldn't even care. It's still usable. Who cares? Okay, so now the pocket is on the body and I'm going to go around that outer edge and sew it on. So here we go. I am going to stitch and then lock stitch back because that pocket gets a lot of use, that opening. So there it is. And now we'll finish up by binding it. So I will have you, Ramel, move the camera to the overhead.
Yes.
while I grab my binding, and I'll press this. So it's just going to be right in the center there. Now you can get really technical and precise with sewing the shorter ends of your binding together. But when I'm doing stuff like this for me, just to scrap bust and have a useful project at the end, I don't overthink it or worry about it too much. So I'm just going to overlap them. I'll show you what I do. There is a tool, and I made a short little video last year. I think it was maybe for the Patchwork Quilt Sew Along, where I show you how I would sew the ends of binding together. I use that easy binding tool, but I just don't think it matters as much for a project like this. That could be a whole tutorial in itself, really, using that tool, because it's kind of tricky.
Are you talking about the one that makes the binding?
Yeah, the short ends of the binding to meet perfectly and seamlessly. It takes some practice. I always have to watch my video before I use it, which is so silly. I've been using it for 10 years.
So you made a video and you have to...
Yes,
wow.
I have to refer to my own tutorial video when I use that tool.
I kind of feel like that sometimes. Like, how did I do this?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like making pancakes. Why don't I have that recipe memorized by now? I have to look at the cookbook. I don't know why. Okay, so I'm just going to press this so it's easy to work with. And then I won't do the whole hot pad, but I'll show you how I start this. So I'm going to move to the overhead here. Oops, didn't. Okay, so here is, let's say this is the front. I'm going to call that the front, and this is the back. So I would, after trimming excess seam away, you want to make sure your fabrics are totally lined up with each other. Okay, so just trim that away. I would start on the back, and I'm going to use clips or pins to hold this in place and go all the way around. And then I'm going to sew exactly in that ditch from the pressing line. See that pressing line? That's exactly where I'm going to sew all the way around. I'm going to do a short little, maybe half of it here, and then I'll flip it around and show you what's next. Okay, so let me get this on here a bit. And so the raw edge of the binding, that outer edge is lined up with the outer edge of the hot pad. And I'm just sewing right in that crease. And I'll show you this in just a second here. This is a great way to practice binding. Okay, so see how I've sewn it on. So now what we can do is flip it up and over. And so that edge tucks in, and you'll flip it down and over. I'm going to move to the overhead so you can see it a little bit better. So here's the part that I just sewed on. And I'm just going to press it up. See how it wants to curve around? It's just naturally curving around.
You want me to zoom it in? So
sure.
Just to get the detail.
Sure. Okay, there we are. So it wants to flip up. Look how cool that's going to look. It wants to flip up. Now that raw edge, you've already pressed it once. That's why it's called double fold, because that raw edge is pressed. It wants to turn under. And then you bring it around to the outside. And there's your clean, beautiful edge. You're covering the stitching line that you just sewed.
Wow.
So it wants to now, I'm not even doing anything. It just wants to behave this way. Now, if it's being a stinker, just take it to your iron and press it and curve it with your iron. It'll behave. If you cut it on the bias, it'll behave, and it'll just want to do this. Okay, so I'm going to transition, Ramel, one more time. This will be it.
That's okay. All right.
We're to the machine.
To the machine, right. Just trying to.
Yeah.
Wait.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we've been moving stuff.
We've been moving a lot of stuff. I broke all my nails off this week. We've been gardening and.
Oh, maybe this is a better view. What do you think?
Yeah, that looks good. All right, here we go. Last little bit here. So I've got this on. The whole pad would be like this. And I would just remove clips as I'm sewing. You're catching the raw edges of the pocket as you're sewing. Everything is clean. You want to stick as close to that edge as you can. If you want to do a zigzag, do a zigzag. You can do whatever you want. Look at that. Isn't that going to look so cool? So I will actually finish this up because I love black and white stripes so much. It's eye-catching, isn't it? So if you have a bunch of solids sitting around, do some stuff like this. People are going to think you're a mad genius. And also remember, you can just use one fabric. This fabric is Anna Maria Classics. It looks like a stack of books. And I like that because it looks scrappy to me. So anywho, then I stick my hand in there and I grab my hot pan. Right? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Even if I don't finish it all on the live. What questions do you have, Ramel?
Anne had a really good question.
Okay.
Speaking of, I'm just going to pop it up on the screen.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of making videos, will you consider making a video about how to sew zippers on top of bags so they don't look wavy or wonky? Some of my zippers are great. Not sure it's the manufacturer or the sewist.
It's sewing and it's the length of your zipper. You don't want too long of a zipper. Even if it's a 1/4 inch too long, it's going to wave and buckle. And another thing is you can always iron your zipper tape before you sew it in, kind of stretch it and iron it and flatten that baby out. Because, yeah, I guess not all zipper tapes are created equal, but you can, with time and experience, you can learn those little tricks to help you. And one of them is to definitely not use too long of a zipper when you're inserting it. Sometimes people will overcut zipper tabs if you have those on the end, and that will create too much length. And so then the zipper is kind of buckling and looks wavy. But another thing is, if it's already in, just try ironing it. Ironing, pressing can do a lot. It can save a lot as far as the bag.
Maybe a video is in.
Perhaps. Somebody asked how wide I cut my binding. So I usually cut mine at 2 1/4 inches. I have gradually been increasing to 2 1/2 on my bigger quilts, but I always cut it at 2 1/4 by habit for little projects. That is the exact width that the Wright's pre-packaged binding strips are. And I think that's why I just did it that way. I think it's just enough. It's not too wide. It's not too weird. It's just right for me. But you can cut it any width you like. If you wanted a big old binding, you can cut it 3 inches if you want. You're never wrong. Play around and see what you like best.
Have you made decorative hot pads from cork?
No, not from cork. I wouldn't use cork with your hot pans. And the reason for that is, if Cindy's here, she can chime in, but not all cork is created equal. And some of the cheaper corks are quite thin and they're using a glue on the back, and that can separate from the cork and that could burn you. So I've got some cork in the shop and I've got another style arriving. I always purchase cork that has a microfiber backing, and that makes it super strong and suitable for bag making, and it won't separate. There's so many manufacturing processes into making cork, you wouldn't believe it. And there's all different levels of quality. So if it's more expensive, they're probably doing it the way you want it done for dealing with an iron that's hot and for bag making and whatnot. It would make a difference. So I, just as a general rule, I wouldn't use cork on a hot pad.
I have another question. What do you use for the heat resistant material?
I was using, for this project, things like this, I just use fusible fleece. As I said in the beginning, you can use Wrap Zap or Insulbright if you're going to actually put it into the microwave. So some people like to make those bowl cozies. And for that, if it's going into the microwave to heat up your soup, you can't use anything with the scrim that might have polyester bits in it or other things. You have to use 100% cotton. And to do that, I would buy a product made for that. So Wrap Zap, which I'll put in the shop this weekend. It looks just like quilt batting. Make sure you keep it separate. And Insulbright is made for that as well. It's like NASA material or something.
Got another good tip here.
Yep.
Good use of leftover binding from binding quilts too. I have lots of binding pieces. I've been saving this, and it will be a good way to use those up as well as fabric scraps.
Yes, absolutely. I've bound complete huge quilts with scraps of binding. Save that binding. You're going to find a use for it. It's awesome.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
Will this video be available to see later?
Yeah, it will always live on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It helps me out. I have over 110 videos over there, and lots of them are projects like this, tutorials. Some are very quick, like 2 minutes or less, and others are complete bag walkthroughs. So it's worth keeping up on those. If you subscribe, I think YouTube will show you when I have a new video out. So it's kind of handy, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I forget where things are at or how to find people, right? Okay, so let's see. Oh, Freddie says when you zigzag the binding, is it all in the binding? No, if you're going to do a zigzag, usually what I've seen done most, you can do whatever you want, by the way. But what I've seen most is where the tip of the zig is on this material and the end of the zag is on the binding. So that's how I've most commonly seen it. That's how I've done quilt binding on my quilts if I use a zigzag. So, but really you can do whatever you want as long as you're getting all the layers hit with your zigzag. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Do you see any more at the moment?
No, but I share the YouTube channel link on Facebook. So,
okay, great. That's handy. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know sometimes, especially if I'm on my phone, it's hard to find things online. Okay, so I think it's time. I have a whole little list here. As Delva pointed out, we can't forget our little giveaways. And also, let me get this so I can see it. I want to show you a couple of things. I hope that was good. If you guys need me to do a complete edited video for that hot pad, let me know. I can whip one up. It's not a problem. Other scrappy projects on my YouTube channel, I have a really fun pillow. It's called Zip Pillow because I actually installed a zipper in it, and it's lined. So the outside looks like this. It's all scrappy, and I'm just using up my scraps, and I did use solids. And then it's lined on the inside with just muslin or whatever I had on hand. And so that way, when you take out your pillow insert, because your dog puked on the pillow or something, you can wash the whole thing. And I've done that many times with my pillow covers. I love a lined pillow. All right. Oh, Joyce, I hope you're okay. Joyce is recovering from COVID. I know so many people who've gotten it lately. So just rest. I think that's the best medicine, right? And keep your fluids in. Keep your fluids up. That's my nurse background. Don't let yourself get dehydrated. Let's see here. Okay, let's get into some new stuff. I'm really excited.
Giveaway too?
And yeah, we'll get into that. That's at the end. We'll do the giveaway at the end. So I posted a little reel on Instagram of making this Lola bag. Lola is a pattern by Swoon. It's well loved by the bag making community. So I made mine. I left off the zipper pocket, as you can see. I just didn't feel like it. And I used this shapeshifter vinyl, which when you get it, it looks quite subdued and dark. But in the sunlight, I don't even have direct sunlight in here. It's just like ambient. it does this. It's like so cool. It reminds me of when you see gasoline spills on the ground or something, or oil slicks. It does that kind of thing. And on the inside, I put Alexander Henry's zombie pinups print, which I think is hilarious because I love zombie movies and shows. I don't know what's wrong with me. I know it's gross, but I love it. And so that is for me. I think it's fun. And we did sell all the kits, but guess what? I found more in my stash. So I quickly made 6 more kits, but then it's gone because I did use my personal stash for that lining. So if you want one, go grab one. This is the Lola zombie kit. Yes.
No, I was gonna say it looks just like the color of the metal, but
yes.
on fabric.
Yes, it does. It looks just like rainbow iridescent, the hardware. This is one of the heart zippers that we have in now. I love it. Okay, so you guys saw the Trillium that I have on now. I also tested the Luna pant from Made by Ray, and it's a good one. The reason I love it is because you can put this elastic cuff at the bottom and make it more of a jogger style pant, but you don't have to use a knit. This is made specifically to work with wovens. And my favorite fabric to make the Luna in is rayon. Let me show you what just arrived this morning. I already washed this section because I'm totally making these today. Leopard print. This is by my friend, oh my gosh, Crystal Manning. She designs for Moda. She has this leopard rayon print. So I'm going to make these Luna pants in this rayon. I bought a whole bunch of bolts of this, and I'm going to get it listed today if you want to make any with me. The pattern and the fabric will be going in today. Rayon is very easy to sew. The only thing is you do have to treat your edges because this is after washing. So you'll get all these raggedy edges. So if you don't have a serger, I would cut out your pant pattern with pinking shears, and then I would use a zigzag stitch on your machine. And she talks about, there's only, I think, 2 pattern pieces for this pant. I can't remember exactly. I tested it a couple of years ago, but it's a tried and true. It's a flat, is it a flat? No, it's an elastic waist, and there are inseam pockets. Sometimes I switch up my pants and I add a patch pocket on the front, or I will extend the inseam pocket to be a little deeper so my phone doesn't fall out. So I'll show you that maybe next week what I do there. I love her pocket pieces though. I've used them on other patterns because they're nice and roomy. Okay, so there's that. I also created finally some of these Hope bag kits. Now let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff in this. I showed you my Hope bag, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. I made it in all soft vinyl, gold color. So that's the kit. I have the gold soft vinyl. I have a matching quilting cotton. Let me just open this real quick. There's so much stuff. I have a gold zipper with 2 gold pulls. I have this. It's called Rainbow Flex, but it's just like gold flecks on white. So it matches this perfectly. And I really like a light fabric for this bag because it's on the smaller side. And then I've included Emmeline Bags hardware. So I didn't want to separate these zipper or cord ends. You can use them for either because the screws for these are really small. So I'm giving you a whole pack. There's 5 zipper ends. So if you didn't want to do a zipper tab, you just stick the ends of your zipper in these metal things and it looks super professional. And then you're also getting 4 domed gold feet, purse feet, so your bag doesn't sit on the ground. So even in the Lola, she has instructions to put purse feet in, but I didn't have them, so I didn't do it. But now I do. And then you get 2 yards of Pellon, SF101, and foam to make the bag sit up. And yes, I always love using soft vinyl with a foam interfacing. I just cut out my bag piece and then cut out the foam a little bigger, and I based around that outer edge. And lots of people in the group have been quilting their soft vinyl if you like that look. I think a gold hope bag that was quilted with the diamond shapes would look like a Chanel bag, I swear. So those kits are in the shop. I don't know. I think we have 5 available right now. It's a lot of pieces to put together and make sure everything is matching. So those are in now. Okay, what else did I have, Ramel? Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys the bolts. The fabric, the rayon is 54 inches wide. And I used 2 yards for those pants, I think, and I had leftovers. I'm 5'4", so that can be a guide. But all the requirements are on the back of Luna as well. And Amy and I did talk about tried and true patterns this week on the podcast. And yes, free range slacks and Hudson joggers, and now these Lunas. I have done all of them. I love all of them. They're not hard to do. So I think, let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm just looking at my list really quick. Got that. For next week on the live, I have a case to show you. So you can do one of 2 shapes. I made these because we're traveling soon and I want to be able to take my iPad. And in these cases, I just don't feel like it's protected very much. So I used canvas and my Moon Glow champagne and made this case with foam interfacing. So it's nice and cushiony, and then a snap closure. So I will have this for you next week with a download and a template. You can make whatever size you want and whatever shape of flap you want, but they're super simple. So that's on the agenda for next week. Okay, do we have any more questions, Ramel, or can we pick some giveaways now?
Have you selected your pattern testers?
No, not yet. So I did put out a call the other day and I got so many emails that I took it down, but I will be emailing in the next week as far as sewists for not just my patterns, but other patterns. I need a lot of things made and I need to take pictures of finished items and I just can't do it all. I'm realizing more and more. I work all day and night and I run out of time. So I'm going to be hiring some sewists to do some projects for me. So a lot of you answered to that call out and I will be getting back to you soon. Got to get organized and figure out how to have you sign up for what, right? We were doing that yesterday with the Google form.
Yeah, maybe I can do a better job with the camera system.
You're doing fine. Listen, technology is hard.
Yeah.
So, okay. Amy says, I'm getting the Luna pants pattern immediately. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't tell you about it sooner. I forgot about them. I made a couple, and then I think I gave those pants away. I'm trying to think who I gave them to because I'm going to go to their house and take them back. I'm just kidding. Maybe it was Kat. Did I give you a pair, Kat? Yeah, exactly. Sue says, I'm retired and run out of time. What is it, right? It's like, I don't know. Time is gold. Okay. Oh, Dodie, hope you recover quickly. Oh, thinking of you. Okay, let's pick. Should we pick now or should we pick later? What we're going to do is give away some gift certificates to the shop so that you can just shop at your leisure. There's not, these will be good for 6 months. So you don't have to feel pressured about using it. It'll just be a link specific to you and you can use it whenever it's convenient. So since you're here now, Ramel, why don't you do a scroll like what's that guy that used to be on Bob Barker? He would spin that wheel with the numbers. That was The Price is Right.
The Price is Right? Oh, okay. I'll do
Just spin your wheel and.
I'm spinning my wheel. I'm actually doing it without looking.
Yes, he is. He's looking away. Okay.
You want me to call it?
Yep.
Debbie Whitmer.
Debbie Whitmer. The price is right. Come on down. All right. Debbie, I'll be sending you a link, an email. I have your email, so I will send that to you later. And let's do 2 more.
2 more? Okay, I'm gonna do it again.
Okay.
And seriously, I'm not looking.
I should swing the camera around. You're really not, but I won't because our house is a mess at the moment. Okay, ready, go.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Amy.
Amy?
Yes.
Hey, fair is fair. Amy, here you go. The price is right. Come on down. Wouldn't that be funny if she could just show up and like come on screen? That just show them the thing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, last one.
One more? Okay.
Yep.
Let me shake this one. Deidre.
Deidre? Oh my gosh, Deidre Powell. Yeah? All right. So we'll be sending you an email. So, okay. I think I have all 3 of you, your emails. So I will do that just shortly, right after this. No, redraw, Amy says. So you don't want any? We might. No. Fair's fair. Okay, so I guess that's it. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being so patient with us for our little mistakes. I'm glad we can show you we're human too. Name of the game is just do it. Just get on your machine and sew this weekend. Even if it's just 10 minutes, it'll make you feel better. So I will see you next Friday. You take care. Bye.